glasses on. Welcome everyone, and again, thank you for the acknowledgement of country. I'm talking about doing good. Who here likes to think that they have potential to do good? And who here is already doing good? And who's planning to do good? And who thinks it's a whole pile of crap? Let's start here. If you want to do some good, who tweets? Okay. Tweet at UNSW and tell them that I'm here talking to you. Because one of the big discussions I'm having at an institutional level is how to embed social innovation and social enterprise across different disciplines at the university, and had a really great discussion with information systems last week and a really good one with business today. And the exciting thing is that everyone who's starting to go into university coming in with the idea of we want to be a lawyer, or we want to be an engineer, or we want to be a designer, and we want to do good. And that's really, really fantastic. So one of the things I'm working on at the moment is building and designing educational material to help people have the tools to work together on complex projects to do good. So tweet that I'm here and let them know that you guys as a community in user experience and design think it's a valuable thing to be engaged in, and then hopefully I can use that to bend a few more stubborn heads at the institution. So I just wanted to start by talking about what is social innovation. So who here has one of these things on their wrist that tells them how many steps they've taken each day, or on their phone? This is a social innovation. It's a piece of technology. It's not perfect. It tells me I'm asleep when I'm actually working on the computer but sitting very still. But it reminds me to change my behaviour every day with a piece of simple technology to just do a little bit more exercise. And so it's a well-being technology. It's making me healthier. So I'm not social innovation isn't always about making great big change, and it's not always about helping necessarily disadvantaged communities. It's about making people from all parts of society to help them change the way they behave. It can be new concepts, it can be new ideas, it can be new strategies, it can be executed by individuals, it can be done by organisations, it can happen at any level of society and any scale. And I think a really good area of social innovation to be thinking about at the moment, it's probably everyone's mind, is domestic violence. It's a really good example of an area that can develop some social innovation around. How do we deal with it? How do we have conversations about it? How do we stop it? And it's an endemic problem from the poorest families to the wealthiest families. And you know, I'm a local government councillor in Pittwater. We have one of the highest rates of domestic violence in Australia, and we're not socially or economically disadvantaged. It's really interesting. So a lot of it's financial. Women don't work. Husbands work. Husbands keep them completely in control by controlling the money and the access to the children and cars and stuff. So yeah, it's really interesting to think that you might be looking at we always think let's look at the most disadvantaged in society, but in fact you can have greater impact in other areas. Or you might just do something that changes one person's life, like the mentoring program that you were talking about. That's a social innovation. You're developing your ecosystem and your community through a peer-led mentoring program, and that's a very simple action. It's very easy to do. You're utilising existing resources, which is your community, to build in that community, and that's what social innovation is about. It's about feeding back into communities. So social innovation is great. So who here has some spare time each week that they could spend on doing good? Okay, so then you can be a social innovator, and you know, poor Kutch's sort of no spare time. You are a social innovator. You organise these meetups. That is a social innovation. You have changed all these people's behaviours. They're here tonight. It might also be a bit about feed beer and pizza, but you're involved in organising that, and that's led to a richer experience for these people and your community being better off. But it's not just enough to do it part-time. Some people want to do it full-time, so that's when we put an entrepreneurial overlay over the top. And this is quite interesting because when I first founded with Kate, Social Innovation Sydney, people were going, how can you make money out of doing good? Isn't that intrinsically bad? That there was this sort of thought that anything commercial couldn't give a good social outcome. But actually, it's these models where you can build an income for yourself and the people that you're working with to do good that actually have the most longevity and the ability to have the greatest impact, because you can continue doing it for a long time rather than exhausting yourself and everyone else doing it as a plus on top of everything else that you do. So I just want to talk about the benefits of that. Who here donates to charity? You don't have to pretend you do. Okay. Who thinks charity is a waste of time? Yep. Okay. There's a big demographic shift across the entire community. Anyone under 60 doesn't understand charity and doesn't like giving money to charity. Who would rather volunteer to help someone out than, yeah, okay. So this is it. The charity model's not working, it's broken. A lot of charities are having to rethink how they're going to fund themselves, because the government funding is also drying up the third sector. Anyone here work in a charity or not-for-profit and having, yeah, so you'll be able to talk a little bit about that in the next talk. So this is why social entrepreneurship is quite good. There's a lot of great social services being delivered globally, particularly like in places like Britain, because they've had to evolve that structure in order to continue to provide good services within their community. And this is where people like you come in, because some of you have a bit of, who's got a business background here? A couple of you, who's got a design background, who's a bit of an entrepreneur. Okay, you'll think well to be in a business scenario and think a bit differently. Now, who works for a big company here? Over 100 employees. Okay, does your company have a CSR project, corporate social responsibility? Okay, does anyone work for Westpac? No, they've got a big social innovation fund. CSR is a really interesting thing, because a lot of companies like to think that they're doing good, but they're not. And to ameliorate their sins, or they do these CSR projects, like, you know, we're currently cutting down an entire rainforest over here, but we're going to sponsor an Indigenous kids soccer team here, and that'll make everyone feel better. Okay, so it does make people feel good and choose to fit. I think, Nestle does a lot of CSR stuff. They're getting much better, and the CSR is helping them develop a better culture ethically, but it's still a band-aid on top of a bad product. So CSR's it's just an overlay, and depending on the whims of whoever's in charge of the purses at the time, the funding can dry out for the particularly good projects you're doing. And this is why social innovation is great, because you build a business model, or an innovative business model, that's called a shared value model. So the intrinsic outcome of the business and all the spend of the business is about diverting the profits back into doing more good on that particular cause that you're working in. So this is why I think change makers, who's a change maker here? There's a few of you. Okay, people want to do good through making change. If you're going to really be serious about it, think about starting a social enterprise, which means that you can dedicate your time eventually full-time to making that change happen and hopefully build a team. So if you're a change maker, are you a modern day superhero? I hope so. What Kate and I found when we first founded Social Innovation Sydney was that a lot of people had this idea that they wanted to be this superhero. They had this day job that they kind of tolerated because it gave them the ability to have nice holidays and drink nice wine. But they really wanted to be doing good. So they'd say, you know, I'm a lawyer, but at night I've got this really awesome project that I'm working on that's going to change human trafficking and stop it. You know. And that's great. And these sort of do-gooders slashies, as we like to call them, would obviously some of them would be able to tip it over and turn it into an enterprise. Some of them would just give up because they got too tired. Some of them would change jobs and not be able to have that free time anymore. So if you're wanting to be that superhero and change, think differently. Does anyone feel like the guy standing upside down? No one's wearing a suit tonight. That's awesome. Okay, so you all feel like this guy that's standing on his head. You're all a little bit different. You're non-conformist. You want to do things differently. That's what Kate and I wanted to do. So, you know, I'm an academic. Kate at that time was working in industry. She's now come over to the dark side and is working in administration at the university. That's the very deep dark side. They prevent us from doing fun stuff. But she's on the right side. But we wanted to make a platform that helps change makers, and this is what I wanted to say to you guys. Who here works in developing platforms of some kind? Probably most of you work in some kind of platform. Your platforms could possibly be leveraged for doing good. So I'll give you an example of a great platform. Who here has used Google Maps in the last 24 hours? Yeah, okay, that's how I got here tonight. Who here used Meetup to get here tonight? Come on, all of you did. If you didn't, you have to leave now. they're platforms, and they're platforms through which change makers can leverage. So, great disaster relief project. People decided that they could pinpoint where they were on Google Maps and tell other people that they were okay when cyclones came through Vanuatu, when earthquakes have hit other parts of the world. So we can use these technological platforms. The internet's a great platform for sharing ideas and news. Some of you might be developing technologies that are imperfect but could be applied in some way, and you've got knowledge that can help people track data. Crunch data, big data is a really big area for delivering social change and understanding patterns. So if you've got access to the skills that can make this happen, there's a lot of people out there that would love to partner with you that have projects that are already happening or could use your skill sets. So we thought, great, there's all these people out there that want to make change happen. They've all got great ideas, but they can't do it on their own. So we organised, this predates Meetup and other things. We started doing these special events where we'd have people come and talk about different types of projects they're working on that are change-making projects, who they need to help them on their teams, and we'd start connecting these people together. We'd have conferences where people could explore possibilities and opportunities, could just turn up and share crazy ideas and beat them into some sort of realisable shape, could connect with other people. And then what we realised is that people needed business skills to put a model or a framework around this. So we developed a program which was these startup camps based on the boot camp model. We go for 2 days and you could partner with people. Does anyone recognise Soren here? I thought he might be here, that's why I put that photo in. Anyway, it's really good to meet your tribe. So these people would come and go, oh my gosh, there's other people in Sydney that want to make this change happen, isn't that wonderful? And that's I think the internet's one of the best platforms for change making because it can connect people that haven't previously met. So tonight I'm going to ask you a few of the questions, and you can reflect on it and you can answer them in question time if you like, that we would pose to people coming through there. So if you're wanting to make change happen, think about what are you good at? What do you find easy to do that could contribute to a change project? So what skills do you have, what knowledge do you have that could help someone else or help you put your project together? So for me, I think some of my good skills are connecting people, communicating, thinking in a whole systems approach, and teaching people how to use those tools. So I would take them as my skill set. And then I would ask you, well, okay, so you've got those great skills and that knowledge. Do you have any spheres of influence or networks or resources that you could bring to a project? So, for example, I've got a university, half the rooms are empty at any one time, so we've got space that we can provide people. Or I've got my academic network to solve problems, I've got my student network to do grunt work. They don't mind doing that because it goes on the CV, they get a reference. And some of the resources I have is my knowledge and my skills, but network to other people that have those. So I could bring that to a project and help people make something happen. I could influence people. And we all have different spheres of influence. So I've got my university one, and I've got my council one. I've got my alumni one, like all the people I studied with, but I've got this really powerful one, which is the Global International Mothers Club. So who here has children? Okay. As soon as you pop that baby out, you're a member of the Global International Mothers Club, and you can tap into people everywhere because they've got children that need looking after when they go travelling, and you have children that need looking after when they go travelling, and you can connect, and it's really fantastic. You've got all these places to stay globally after your children go travelling, and you pair them off with other people to look after them just in case. So that's been really good, and in fact it's really interesting how nearly every country I've ever wanted to work in on a social enterprise project, I've known someone through someone that is in my mother's group. It's fascinating. So Vanuatu, Palau, Kiribati, everyone is contacted somewhere, 6 degrees of separation. Think about the most unlikely networks, so the people that you were breastfeeding with, they had contacts that will help you later. Men, I'm sorry about that. This might have to go to that. Was it that XXX club? Yeah. We call it the memory network. Okay, so what am I passionate about? We all have boobs, guys. Come on. Okay. So ask yourself, what are you passionate about? Are there issues that you are really, really, really passionate about? My 8-year-old said to me the other day, if I had boobs, Mum, I'd never leave the house. And And that's my daughter. Okay, so issues are causes and actions that you are passionate about. So thinking, are you an activist, an advocate, or are you someone who is able to provide assistance to an activist or an advocate? What are those things that really get your blood boiling that you'd like to put your energy behind? Because they're the things that are easiest for you to contribute to and stay contributing to for a long period. Are there problems that you see that no one else seems to be seeing? Have you got a unique perspective that could help you identify issues or opportunities that you could be addressing to bring social good? Again, these don't have to be groundbreaking, they could be really, really simple. I love, Google's got, and I noticed Atlassian, and I'm sorry guys, this is another thing that only the girls will be accessing tonight. There may be similar set of signs in the men's toilets here, but this building has old pipes and you can't flush stuff down the toilets. So there's this awesome flow chart that some processing person's written on the back of the door in the ladies' toilet. That's a social innovation. It probably helps about 10 people. That's the maintenance staff of this building. But it's fantastic, and it probably has saved hundreds of thousands of dollars in plumbing fees. And just simple, fun, amusing things like that can completely change someone's life. And so, it doesn't have to be new, doesn't have to be different. It's much better than having those shouty notes that people send around on the internal email. Okay, how can you be effective and efficient with collaborating with other people on this project? So don't waste people's time. If you need them, how do you bring them in? And how can they help you with change? Again, look for those platforms or create. You guys have the power to create platforms, which is fantastic. Don't have to start big. Local is good. Global can be scaled to later. And leading by example. So if you're really passionate about it, start. So you look at people like Tim Silverwood, who does the Three Hands project. He's totally passionate about removing plastics from Take three. Tim would kill me if I got that confused, so thank you, Frederick. He's totally passionate about removing plastics from our system. And he lives it. He has no plastic. He started a business that sells products that help you remove plastic from your life. He goes and talks about it. And he's been at it for a very, very long time. So often we see these people put up as fantastic social innovators. And we think, oh, they've just popped up out of nowhere. They've probably been at it since they're about 10. And doing it for a very long time, or interested in it, and then developed approaches that way. And this is, we lead, and as we're leading these projects, we will learn more about them. So you don't have to be the expert to start making change. You can learn that stuff on the fly and bring other people in to help you. Workshopping ideas and sharing them with other people is fantastic. Anyone here at IP not really worried about sharing ideas with other people in case they pinch them? Good luck for them if they do, because you're ahead of them, because you've already had the idea. So share those ideas and workshop them with people just to make sure that you can validate them. And they might bring more innovation to the approaches that you have. But the big important thing is to find a supportive community of collaborators. So you don't want someone who's bringing you down all the time while you're trying to make that change. Ditch them if they're not on side on the team, and find people that are on the same page as you. And do research. So don't be one of these people who goes, oh, there's a problem over there, but I'm not going to really think about that problem. You have to be honest about what you're doing and whether it's working or not. Because we work on quite complex projects, that are social projects, if you don't do your research, you can actually end up doing more harm than you do good. So you could fix someone's living problems. So East Timor response is really great. All these, after the Aceh, in Banda Aceh, after all of the tsunami problems, a whole lot of aid agencies turn up. They spend more money on a four-wheel drive hire than they do on actually delivering aid. And what they do is they build entire villages facing in the wrong direction, in the wrong style houses for the particular people that are living there, who then can't live in them, they're living underneath them, because it's more like their traditional architecture. They build the sewage system on top of the hill so the shit flows down the hill and makes everyone sick, because that's where they're growing their food and keeping their pigs. So, doing a tiny little bit of social research would have given these guys the insight to put sewage at the bottom of the hill rather than at the top of the hill and flowing through the village, and to actually build a village that faces in the right direction for these people to be able to live in. I think these particular villages needed to be facing the front doors where the sun rises. Very simply, you could have just asked someone. But so this co-design, who practices co-design here? You might think that it's totally natural. A lot of people just don't get co-design at all. But one of the things that's really important is to understand what is the impact that you want to make? So what are you trying to solve and what it's going to look like when it's solved? And how are you going to measure that? Because once you start having some wins, you need to prove to people that it's working, to get more collaborators, more funding, people to partner with you. And if you can't prove that some metrics around it, so it's not just enough to say, we went here and we did this and everyone smiled at us. You need to have something a little bit more tangible than that. Like, we've saved X people Y hours and then they've been able to spend that time doing Z. And that's much more important. But the other thing is, who's busy here? Yeah, can't be that busy, you're here listening to me. But there's this thing about prioritising all your activities. So I'd say, carve out dedicated time. It could be Monday, 9 till 11 p.m. And you just blank that out and say, that's my change-making time. Identify any obstacles you're going to have and act like water and run around them or through them or get rid of them. I don't know how you're going to deal with them, depends on how big they are, but obstacles aren't really obstacles, they're just problems you need to solve to get to the solution that you want at the end. So you're clever, you'll find a way around them. And embrace any failure, and I actually don't believe in failure, I believe in negative learning experiences. Because you think, again, this is for people with children or who've been children at one stage, which is probably all of you. How did you learn? You learn from making mistakes and then iterating your behaviour until you got it right. And that's exactly how we need to learn as entrepreneurs. So be agile, be flexible, make lots of prototypes, fail fast, fail early, fail well, document it, test your theories, and you'll find your way through your wicked problem and hopefully not come across too many sticky solutions. So who's familiar with the wicked problem concept? Wicked problems are problems that every solution throws up more problems than the sticky solutions. So anticipate what the stickiness might be and ways of working with that. And that's why an iterative design thinking approach is really good. So understand that the projects are complex, they need diversity, you need a team that's with different skill sets, different perspectives to help do it. And remember that you were dealing, not with pixels, but with people. And people don't want you to come and then drop a solution on them and leave. They want you to be engaged with them for a long period of time. I've got a friend delivering an amazing project in East Timor. It's taken 5 years for her to gain the confidence in the community, for them to let her help them, because every aid agency rocked up, spent 6 months, they disappeared, never came back again. So they just, we don't need help from you because everyone else tried to help us and they haven't helped us. So it's about being consistent and long term, and if you're going to engage with the community in any way, you need to know that you'll be there for a long time and they need to know that you'll be there for a long time. And again, this is why our user-centered design skills are really good. We need to be able to understand what the problem is, define that, research around it, see what everyone else has done. Don't reinvent the wheel, partner with people if they're already halfway there, support them. You don't have to be the first person or the only person in the space. Generate lots of ideas, prototype as many of them as you think is needed. Choose the ones that you think might be the best approach, put them into play. Some of them will fail, some of them will succeed, but learn from that and keep iterating in that circle, and everything always changes, so you will continually need to iterate forever, and that's good, it'll keep you on your toes. And with that in mind, you need to balance all the stakeholder needs. So who's delivering this, who's receiving it, who's measuring it, who's funding it, what do they all want to get out of this? And this becomes a values question, and aligning everyone's values or understanding the project. Here's this chap here, this is where you start building the business framework around what you're doing. The business model canvas, I find, for social projects is much better than the lean canvas, but if you're more familiar with the lean canvas, use that. There's a copy of this in the presentation, so I think they'll be up on SlideShare. The other thing is, why don't you go and partner with someone? So I run a project with a global organisation called Enactus with my students. We've got 140 students working on about 10 social projects. Every one of these teams needs a business advisory board, and a lot of them are short on tech people and design people to work with them. It's not huge amounts, it's probably about 8 hours every 6 months that you need to spend with these guys. So that's an opportunity that you could bring your skill set to immediately to help someone else deliver a social innovation. You could do nothing, but that's not an option. These projects in my team, they're looking at refurbishing old computers that people don't use anymore at uni, and they distribute them to community centres that can't afford to buy computers, and then they deliver training to people to do CVs and learn how to use technology so they can be more employable. But they also help old people in nursing homes and retirement villages learn how to use social media, which sounds really funny, but these guys are disconnected from their friends and family, and there's nothing like seeing a 75-year-old guy who's just given up trying to contact his grandchildren, tweeting them or Facebooking, so that's great. We've got this other one called the Bean Community, which is cafes that help us train migrants and refugees in barista and hospitality skills, and then give them work experience, because without work experience they can't get a job elsewhere, which is a really simple model but fantastic and very empowering. We've got the Ugly Food Co, and it's this really important project our students are working on at the moment. They're wanting to look at the different supply chain options to help people embed ugly food into their manufacturing processes rather than dumping it. And it will help farmers be more viable, and it will help us deliver less produce into the waste stream. How am I going for time? Okay, great. Okay, great. I've got a whole pile of projects in Vanuatu. We had a few before Cyclone Pam, but now we have a hell of a lot more after Cyclone Pam. But these guys, this is a school, and they don't have any books, so all of their stuff that they learn is pasted on the walls. So we've got a program where we're delivering books. So we're working currently with their librarian in Vanuatu. She tells us what books they need. We go around to schools and libraries to see who's getting rid of those sorts of books. We give them to a cruise liner. They sell them to passengers, and passengers get off the boat, walk down the street, go to the library and deliver it. They get a local experience. We're raising money to buy new books eventually when we can afford it. Libraries aren't throwing our books into landfill. I know we buried 40,000 books last year at UNSW. Crazy. And these kids are having books to read for the first time rather than having to walk around the classroom and read off the wall. So it's a simple one. Everyone's having a lovely time, and the students are done. This is our librarian that we're working with, and she's just won a Bill Gates fellowship to come and study librarianship in Melbourne which is fantastic. We helped her with her application. Our guys helped her fill her application in. You can look at being involved in different partnerships. So our next speaker will probably talk to you about partnering with him, hopefully. So if you're in a position in your business or your occupation, you could actually be a partner to a social enterprise to help fund them and get them up and going. And that partnership doesn't necessarily have to be financial, it could be in kind. And a lot of people sort of need tech support or free web hosting, or someone to do their website for them, or someone to help them design an interface for an app that could help the community. So these sorts of partnerships can be really good. And a lot of you guys I know are good at research. So huge numbers of researchers are needed in this space to look at how impact happens and what works and what doesn't, and to deliver user research and user-centered sort of approaches to delivering services to different communities. And people who understand co-design are really great on board, so if you've ever thought about serving on a board for a social enterprise, that's great. Now, I've got a few things I've mentioned this evening that are ways of contributing, but I think we just talked about Social Design Sydney's meeting on Monday night. Jax has got that event on. You could be part of our business advisory boards at UNSW, but Sydney Uni and UTS also have them. If anyone's interested in being a participant in any of our island innovation labs, some crazy billionaire's just given us half an island in Vietnam for the next one. So if you've got enough money to get over there, we'll host you for a week or two and give you some thinking time and great beers and prawns on the beach. We have a new innovation centre opening at UNSW, and I'm running a 10-week program, 2 10-week programs in concurrent, one in the evenings, one at lunchtime. The lunchtime one's on design for social innovation and entrepreneurship, and the evening one's on design-led innovation, which is a more general design approach. But the idea is that these 2 10-week programs, which are open to anyone and are free, just to give you a taste of what it's like, sort of learning these skills and listening to other practitioners who are doing it, feeds into an event, this event here, which is designed for disaster response. We did a small design jam in April, and we've had a huge response, so we've got a whole lot of other people that want to come and do a bigger response. We've got this great new rapid prototyping and manufacturing and digital printing and all sorts of ways of making physical products, but we also want to look at other ways that we can help aid agencies deliver aid faster and to make those changes. And then I'll give you an example of one fun project that I do on Facebook, which is around sustainability, and it's called Biophilia Mondo. So I just have a, who hates logging into Facebook and seeing all the disaster and then all the Bronwyn Bishop helicopter meme stuff and then and a whole lot of stuff about kids, babies and food they're eating. That's my Facebook feed. I just got sick of looking at whingy stuff on Facebook, so I started a Facebook page. It's a closed group. It's called Biophilia Mondo, and I just asked people to put nice photos of nice places they've been to show a love for the living world. And we get great images from Pakistan and Canada and Sydney and all over the place. And it's just a very small thing. It's a community of roughly 500. But if I don't post, if I don't change the cover photo every day to a new photo, people get cranky because they love a reminder that the world is a beautiful place. So even if you're just tweaking someone's perspective of what the day has been or what the world could be or what is beautiful, then you're making some kind of social change. So you might just have something very small that you want to do, and that could be the change that you make. Anyway, that's me. Annoy me as much as you like, and thank you for listening to me this evening.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get a mic up so we can get questions happening. Look at that. Yeah, there's just one thing I wanted to say is that one thing that's important for us is to remember that we're not designing websites or designing apps or dealing exclusively in that digital space. We're designing interactions. And some of those interactions involve nothing digital. They're going to, other than perhaps the medium that they're being carried upon, they're essentially some kind of relationship that we're having with some other person, and we're using a digital medium to help make that happen. Or actually, even now, I'm using a digital medium to make that happen. But ultimately, we'll be having conversations. We're influencing someone else. So that's kind of one of the focuses we have today. I noticed a hand up.
Hello, Selena. That was fantastic. Wickedness. A lot of high-level, like government and unis, are now teaching design thinking and saying we need to work on wicked problems. I've been trawling the internet for a solved wicked problem, and I haven't found one. What's an example? Do you have one of one that people thought was wicked, but someone somehow solved? And how did they do it?
No. I don't have a solved wicked problem, and I think this is why designers are fantastic in this space. And I talk about everything is constantly changing. So we can look at solving a wicked problem. I think institutional child sexual abuse is a really awesome wicked problem. It's still happening everywhere. But we're looking as a society for ways to fix it. We're currently having a very public conversation around that. I think it's a really good example of what can happen. We can put all these sort of laws and innovation in media and governance within organisations, but will we change that wicked problem? I don't think we will, because it's something that seems to always have the ability to happen, but we can innovate ways of reducing that happening. That's why it's a wicked problem, because it's not static, it's dynamic. The wicked problems are always dynamic, and the environments in which we work are always dynamic. So I know you work heavily in permaculture. You could fix one piece of property, but someone down the road is cutting everything down there and building a concrete playground. You can't solve that, but you can then publicly demonstrate the positive impact of what you've done and hope other people will follow through your leadership. So I think that's the role that we play. I'd love to say yes, I can give you an example. I cannot give you an example of a wicked problem that has been solved. Sorry.
No other questions? I'm going to come around to the back and start prodding people down this side.
Do you have no questions because you're saving them all up till the end? I had this problem yesterday. Frederick's going to ask a question.
I'll ask you questions for the whole week.
Wait for the microphone.
Yeah, just. So I'm Frederick. Yeah. I used to be her best design management student. She said superlative for 2 seconds. What do you think is the critical? You know, this is a bias question. What do you think is the critical leverage point to change towards positive innovation and collaboration?
Acknowledging that we're wrong. And I think that's the hardest thing for anyone is to acknowledge that something is wrong and then to decide to fix it, particularly in the social sense, because if we've been heading down a path thinking one thing's the right way to do things, it's very hard to change that behaviour change. So I think, actually, I'm going to give you a great example of the wicked problem that we solved. To who remembers Life Be In It? So yeah, it solved the really great problem of Australians being inactive and becoming obese, yet we're now all obese again, because that was an intervention that only happened over a single period of time. And that particular type of intervention won't work again because of the media that was delivered through and the way that societies have changed. So that's the dynamic. So how do we not replicate, but how do we get the same outcome with a new application of the new tools that we have available to disseminate a message to people that they need to get up and get moving? Sorry? Yeah, I know. I'm really interested to see how that's going to be delivered, because it's so much easier for us now to turn off all our media or ignore different messages. So it'll be really interesting to see. Because it used to be like blanket on TV at the same time every day on all 7 channels in Sydney. So everyone had to engage with it, or at least turn their TV off, which was part of what they wanted people to do. Turn the TV off and talk to other people in the family, or get outside and play with the dog, or do something. And it had catchy music. We don't kind of do that catchy music. That stopped with Joyce Main's ads, but now I'm showing my age, aren't I? Yes, so Frederick, I think we have to acknowledge sometimes that we're not doing things the right way, and often our biggest, wickedest problems are sort of entrenched in the way that we have developed our governance systems, or something larger. And I know you're interested in currency and do we need to have money. Well, yeah, the whole world would stop if we didn't have money.
That's actually
tomorrow.
Yeah,
I know
tomorrow.
tomorrow, but it's something that we could work a change project towards over time to win. Yeah,
I'm looking at the transition law.
That's okay. Who wants to give up money tomorrow?
Oh, I'd love to give it up tomorrow.
Once I've got something to read. Excellent, thank you.
Hey Selena, I probably have too many questions.
That's why you have to use afterwards.
Ouch. But one burning question, and you may not get through all of this today, and I'd love to hit you up for lunch later on to go through it in more detail. But you mentioned that, well, you've obviously done a fair bit of work with disaster recovery, looking into a project to help with disaster recovery. It's a really interesting niche as far as doing research, because it's got a really sudden onset and a very intense time period. And I suppose I'm just looking more for how would do you have any ideas about how you'd go about doing research for?
Yeah, you don't look at disaster recovery, you look at disaster preparedness. So the problem is that people weren't able to react effectively within an appropriate time frame to minimise the impact of that disaster. So I think a really good example is we know that there's 7 active volcanoes in Japan. That thing just came out from Japan. They're about, no one knows when they're going to go off, but they are going to go off. And there's whole cities in Japan have been told, we will not be able to evacuate you out in time once we know that the volcano is going to go. What is your plan? Now, if you don't have a plan, so if you know that something's coming, you can form a plan. And if you know what it is, then you can have a really good plan. If you aren't prepared for that, then you've got no hope. So how do we help people have plans in place that can minimise the impact of a disaster? That's the question we're going to be looking at in November when we run this lab. I think when we talk about disaster response, disaster relief, disaster recovery, they're all very different things. So what stage of the disaster do you want to be involved? Do you want to be the first person in there? I think one of the best disaster recovery projects I've seen recently is, who has watched the fantastic meme Avalon Now, where everyone's wearing striped shirts? Yeah. Okay, great. So the guys that made that movie, never anticipate, and they're about to do a series of it, it's a piss take on Redfern now. They got together with a guy that is a coffee roaster in Monavale that buys all his coffee from Tanner. And so it was after the cyclone came through, the entire coffee production of Vanuatu was wiped out. I said, how can we get these guys up and running as fast as possible? So all this aid stuff was happening. Every aid agency in the world was in Vanuatu, visited, then left. Okay, there's not much has been delivered as a response except for a few plastic sheets and stuff. These guys said to the guys on Tanner, you've got a lot of food here. You can hold on until we actually deliver you what you want. What do you want? They asked the community what they wanted. So 2 container loads were sent over, but that was funded by everyone on the northern beaches pretending they lived in Avalon, wearing a stripy shirt one day and paying $1 tax on the coffee that they drank, right? And I think it happened across Sydney. A whole lot of the guys that this guy distributes through asked people to give $1. He raised $300,000 on one day through this fun kind of meme, and then use that money to fill these containers with what the community wants. So they've now just got what they wanted and they're getting back on their feet faster than any of the other impacted communities who actually got the immediate aid. So it's about timing as well and understanding how to fix that. So yeah, wicked problem. I don't know, every different location will be different, but disaster preparedness is the question. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Selena.